try it again. Good morning. All right. Very good. We're going to do a little throwback weekend, okay? A little throwback. Let me tell you what we're doing first. We're going to do something, tell the whole town. And we're going to do a couple things. You'll see a story about telling the whole town. What does it look like, and is that a good thing or a bad thing? We're going to talk about that. But what I thought I'd do is I'd show you some pictures. Here's what you have to do. You get to talk to me. Talk, yell, whatever you need to do. And I'm going to show you some pictures, throwback weekend, because there were some things that were like really hot at one time, and then they're not. You know, kind of thing. If you're young, you may not know any of these. Some of them I didn't get, but you'll see. Okay, what I'm talking about. So I thought we'd do a little throwback weekend. If you know who it is and what it is, you get to say it immediately. You ready? Okay, you got it? That's what you get to do. All right, the first one is Mork and Mindy. Nanu. Now, that's not it, is it? Is there a sign? Oh, is the ears? It's the ears? Okay. I was a toddler, so I don't remember. Is that a funny thing? Okay. But anyway, he was the alien, right? That's what they told me. So that's a good one. All right, more community. Very good. I'm very proud of you. How many who did not know that? Raise your hand. If you did not know that, raise your hand. Okay. I understand. I'm with you. I understand. Okay. You ready? We're going to get real. It's going to be really good here in a minute. Here we go. Cabbage Patch Dolls. Who had one? Raise your hand. I see no men with hand raised. Thank you. This was bad news at Christmas. Y'all remember this? Some of the years you had to go, like they were fighting over these dolls at Christmas, and they were paying $200 and $300 or more just to get one of those dolls. Do you still have your Cabbage Patch doll? Yes or no? You can make money right now. If you don't have a feeling toward it, you could get rid of it and make some money and go to Jamaica. Okay, just thought about it. Cabbage Patch. I didn't have one. Okay, just letting you know. All right, next one. Gilligan's Island. Watched it every morning, every afternoon when I got home, that kind of thing. I knew everything about this. I tried to make stuff that they made, like all the carts and, all the stuff they did. I tried to do that. It was amazing how much stuff they had on the island. If you noticed that, I mean, it's like, why would you ever leave this? I mean, that kind of thing. Stay there. It's good. All right, Gilligan's Island. Oh, we're about to get fun here. Okay. Just if you know it, go ahead. First service. Hey, first service, this lady over here screamed, Backstreet Boys. Does anybody know? Do y'all know this is the Backstreet Boys? Okay. Do you have, y'all stay with me. Do not leave me. Do y'all have their music in your house? Yeah. I hear a man answering. Let's talk to the women. Do you have their music? What is their number one song? Backstreet's Back? No, what is their number one song? I don't know. I'm asking you. This lady over here, she knew every song. Something about life, okay? Life. Does anybody have a poster? I'm just going to go. Please. Does this make you worried? Is your wife moving away? Okay, okay. Backstreet Boys it is. Kind of fun to watch this happen. Here we go. Boombox, not the man. Ladies, work with me. Stop looking at the boys. Look at me. This is a boombox. This was the 1980s iPod. Does everybody remember this? We had cassette tape players and an actual radio. A radio. Can you believe that? With no Bluetooth. Actual cassette player. Anybody have a boombox? Raise your hand. You still got, I got one in my garage, but I don't want anybody to know that. I just did. But I don't have any cassettes. Anyway, it's a sad day. You know, you know how they collect phones at school, which they probably don't now or never have, but they would collect boomboxes before you went into the school. And they would put them in the office, and then when you got out of school, you could go get your boombox, and you could boom all the way home. Because they were so loud that you couldn't talk. And if everybody had them going at the same time, they didn't have the same kind of music going. But anyway, that's the boombox. I'm glad you got one of them, okay? Next thing. I was good at this. This is coming back. Does everybody know Rock'em Sock'em's coming back? Go to Walmart, they have them. I don't think Walmart was even in town or invented when this came out. But this is Rock'em Sock'em. Do y'all know how it works? Who is first time seeing this? Raise your hand. First time seeing Rock'em Sock'em? Wow, all y'all know about it. Okay, that's very good. Thank you. At least there's one out there. There's an honest person in the room. I love it. Okay, hold on. Hold on to your wives. Hang on. Okay. New Kids on the Block. Let me walk around on this one a minute. New Kids on the Block. Does anybody have their music? I'm going to point. Listen. I'm going to point at the guys, and you're going to name them. Okay? Is that all right? If I'm causing a marital issue right now, it'll go away in a minute. Okay, here we go. I'm going to point. You're going to name them. Okay, you ready? Let me get over here. Here, hold on a minute. Okay, can you see? Okay, here we go. Who's that? Joey. He's so cute, isn't he? Man, how many have posters? Anybody got posters? You got a clock. You tell time by Joey. Joey wakes me up every day. Get up. I love it. Who's this one? Jonathan? If you don't know, don't make a name up. Let's just go with the right things, okay? Who's this one? Jordan. Jordan's so cute, isn't he? Okay, let me come over here. Don't want to leave any of y'all out, people. Okay, we already did Jordan. Who's this? Danny, you know this? You know this. You know this. That's very good. And who's this right here? Is this Donnie? Is he the bad boy in the group? Okay, which one is not the bad boy? Is that over there? But there's always one of those in the group right there. There's always a bad boy in the group. You have music. Raise your hand. Oh, that is so. Do you still listen to New Kids on the Block? Right now, they're old kids on the block. But they're still on the block. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You're still doing it. Okay, here we go. About done. Do you know that? If you're under 20, do you know this is Mr. Rogers? Under 20. Raise your hand with me. Under 20. Because it was a movie? Oh, my goodness, he's got a movie. He's going to be in it? Is he in it? Is he still living? No, okay. I don't know these things. I don't know it. Don't judge me. Do not judge me. Okay. Here we go. Next one. Can we do this together? Yeah, that's it right there. This was one of my favorite things I used to do when I come home. Go ahead, Sandy, do it. Y'all practice. I like it. But anyway, this is one of my favorite things to do. I knew all the episodes. I knew when Spock did the pain. Remember that one? Remember pain? I love it. It was so good. Do y'all know Gilligan's Island? Do you know Gilligan's Island theme song? Anybody know the words? I don't know the tropic shore aboard this tiny ship, something like that. 3-hour tour. Okay. That's how long this message is going to be. 3-hour tour if I don't hurry up. Okay. All right, let's do this. All right, let's go this. Let's do this. What's hot, what's not. Now let's look at this because I'm going to do a story that's something that was hot, something that is not, and we're going to talk about this lady that they call it the Samaritan woman, the woman at the well, and she was the talk of the town. And so that's kind of what we want to do is figure out what do we want to tell people, what do we know, that kind of thing. And is it possible that we can change what people think of us? That is the idea behind the story of the Samaritan woman. Is it possible, we look at our life, well, this was hot, this is not. What I was doing is not what I'm doing now. How do I communicate to people this is who I am and not what I was? This is the kind of thought behind all of this. Now, is it possible? I'm going to give you some scenarios, and we'll get to this. But give you scenarios real quick. If somebody is a murderer, and say they got out of jail. They got out of jail, they're a murderer, they got out of jail. Will they always be known as a murderer rather than a Christian? So that's a thought. See, that's called a social boundary that we think So when somebody walks in the room and you know, oh yeah, that's the murderer that's welcoming people at the door. So can we change the way we think about that? And that's what's going to happen today. We've got to figure out, can we change that? Can you change the way somebody thinks about a thief? Can we change who we are, and how does that work? Even when we meet Jesus Christ, can a thief become a Christian? Yes or no? Can a murderer become a Christian? Yes or no? Does that mean what in your eyes? This is the idea that this is what Jesus always did. He was always asking that question. He always asked the right questions. He'd always ask, what do you think about it? He asked Peter, he said, who do you say that I am? Not what everybody else is thinking. So we have some social boundaries and some religious boundaries that all of you live under and live through. Now, Jesus didn't live under those things, so he was able to talk to people that you wouldn't talk to. He would talk to murderers, he would talk to thieves, and all of these people and adulterers. He always did that because he really loved who they are and not what they were. And there's a little difference for him and for us. So if you had a story that you were going to tell, there's always two stories, what was happening and what is happening. There's two different stories in most people's lives. What will you be remembered for? That will be the thought. Or what do you want people to think you are? What is your new story that you're going to tell? We have this woman at the well that's an adulterer, married 5 times. We'll go over the story in a minute. So she's going to meet Jesus Christ. She's going to change her life. But what does that do for you? How does she tell people that I'm not what I was when you believe that I'm still the same way? It's a little hard to do. And this is some of the conflict we'll have to figure out. So let's say you change your life, for instance. Let's say you change it. Let's say you meet Jesus Christ and everything has changed for you. So who's going to have the hardest time forgetting the past? Will it be you? Will it be people? Or will it be God? You think you have the hardest time forgetting what you did? Or do you think it's the people that will have the hardest time? Now, Facebook hasn't helped. Facebook, everything on Facebook isn't true. Do y'all realize that? Can you imagine putting out on social media a statement that isn't true, but when it hits social media, most people think it is? Can you imagine having to try to change the opinions of people of who you were and what you really are? How is that going to work? Even meeting Jesus Christ. And this was what was going to happen for this woman that we call woman at the well. Things were going to change for her, but I don't know if it changed for you. The thought would have been, looking at this, there's some social things that we have to deal with. There's some social boundaries. Who do I hang out with? Who do I not hang out with? And am I always going to be known as a thief or murderer and adulterer? Even though Jesus Christ changed my life. You see, because the social boundaries tell us things that we should be doing. And the religious boundaries tell us the things that we should be doing or we shouldn't do. And then Jesus walks in on the scene and he has none of those things. He doesn't worry about social boundaries, and he doesn't worry about religious boundaries. He only does one thing. He worries about one thing. You. The individual. Not what you did or where you come from or what color your skin is and all those things. He worries about one thing. He wants to know about you. But what about us? See, that's going to be the hardest question of all, how to answer that question. How do we see people? Is there a possibility that you don't hang around certain people, and you do hang around certain people? Is that a possibility? And that would be something that Jesus was going to address at this woman at the well. So the thought would be, this is the new saying, it's called you do you. You can't worry about what other people think. This is so easy, right? This is so easy. You just do you. Don't worry about what everybody's thinking. Is that right? Now, you're the woman at the well, and you have 5 husbands, and you're living with somebody else, and the whole town knows about it. And I walk in, or Jesus walks in and says, you just do you. Don't worry about what everybody thinks. Really? A little different, isn't it? We have to think about that. So Jesus is going to change some things. Jesus is going to change some things, and we're going to have to figure it out. So we're always going to be known for certain things. And we have to figure out how to change that. And if the whole town knows it, What do we do? So here's some things that you need to know about Jesus Christ first. And we'll talk about these social boundaries. Jesus doesn't see your past, for one thing. He doesn't go there. He lives from present to future. So whatever you've done when you met Jesus Christ. Now, I'm not saying that you don't remember it, the people. I'm not saying this, you. Can you imagine a church that didn't remember your past? I have people tell me all the time, as soon as I clean my act up, I'm coming to church. Can you imagine if we were a people that did not have those thoughts? That we didn't care you were a murderer. All we cared about is that Jesus Christ loves you and you love Jesus Christ, and we're going to love you no matter what you've done, and you're welcome here. Can you imagine a church like that? Is it impossible to do? Is it impossible to do? Marathon has broken down most social and religious barriers better than any church I know. Not because I'm the pastor of it, I just know. Everybody is welcome, and you know they are. Or do you? So that's the question. So we have these social boundaries we have to deal with. I'll give you some. Jesus had the same thing. So they were called different things. We have to deal with social boundaries, black and white. We had to deal with that. And you say, well, we're over that. I said, okay, we're all over that. We don't do that anymore. Let me ask you, I'm asking you, do you do that? I'm not asking you what everybody else is doing. This is how Jesus worked. I want to know what you're doing and what you're thinking when it comes to these social boundaries, when it comes to that. Black and white, Jesus had to do with Jews and Gentiles. The Jews the only one going to heaven. And Jesus said, everybody can go to heaven. He had to deal with that. He dealt with men and women. Didn't matter. All people can be saved. All people can be used. All have gifts. This was not culturally sound, what he was saying and what was going on. Didn't matter what your age was. Didn't matter if you were young or old, you're going to be used. Didn't matter to that. Also, it didn't matter if you're rich or poor. Those boundaries, he had nothing to do with Jesus Christ. Nothing to do with that. And you have these religious things that happen. We talked about some of the religious things last weekend we had to deal with. Whether it be, I don't hang out with sinners. This is the strangest thought for me. How we got into a religious social group like we don't hang out with sinners when Jesus hung out with sinners more than he did with saints. I am really confused on how we were taught this. I do understand that sinners are much more fun than saints. I know that. Jesus knew that. They're much more honest. But he said, I came for the sick, not the well. So he always hung out there. He was always, watch this, he was always talking to the wrong people. The people that we were told to avoid, the religious boundaries and the social boundaries, a Jew and a Samaritan can't get together. He was always talking to the wrong people. He was always thinking, these people have a heartbeat. And these people need salvation, and I'm here to bring it. And everybody will be welcome at the king's table. Everybody. So you're telling me that people who fly airplanes into our buildings can go to heaven? Yes or no? Should they? Do those people flying airplanes into our buildings should we go to them and say, do you want to accept Jesus Christ? And if they accept Jesus Christ, we're going to put them out front and let them hand out flyers and hand out things and do things at a church. You understand what we're doing? You see how hard this is to do? Because you and I think, well, let's blow them all up. And I would probably be right there with you. But then you look at what Jesus did, and that's not how he thinks. Could Hitler have been saved? Wow. You're just killing me. I know. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, would you have been the one? This is what I'm asking. When it comes to these boundaries, these things that we think and we believe, and we say, we feel like we're over some of this, and then somebody walks in the door, and we say, there he is. There's the murderer. There he is. There's the thief. There she is, the adulterer. Is the adulterer like welcome? I've had to deal with so many things in 21 years. I think I've heard it all, but I haven't. Every now and then you'll surprise me with something. This is a new thing. I didn't know about this. And then you're going to ask me, do you still love me? That's what we're asking. That's what was happening, and what was happening with this lady, what Jesus was doing, and this was the way it was going to be. He was going to eliminate all these barriers. He was going straight to the heart. If you have a beating heart, you need salvation. I don't care what you've done or who you are. I don't care what people think about you or where you've come from. I don't care what the town is saying about you. You have a chance. That's how he did things. And that's what he did. So we have to look at this for a minute. So Jesus was hanging out with the wrong people. Let's go ahead and set this up real quick. So we have this Samaritan woman who's going to come and get water. And I'm going to share that with you. She's going to come and get water. First of all, I'll have to set this up. First of all, let me give you a list of social categories that these people are in, so you'll know exactly what has to happen. So we have tax collectors. They're hated, and you work your ways down. A leper is work your way down, and then adulterer is worse than a leper. So you're right down in here, and all these things happen, and then fishermen were in there too. There were so many, and a lot of these people were apostles and disciples of Jesus Christ, which is crazy stuff, but see, he knows heart, and he doesn't care what you think about it. That's what happened. So here we are working our way down, and so here it is. Powdersville, here's the way it works. Everybody in the room, this is the only water you get every week. Now, there'll be plenty. You don't have to rush up here and knock it down and all that. We're going to have more for you. But every week, you're going to come in here and have to get water for your family. You're going to have to make that trip. Now, around this is what happens. So you have certain times you want to meet. Well, let's meet at 10. Let's meet at 11:30. Let's meet at 11:30. So we're all meeting at 11:30, and this is where you get your water. You don't have it come from a spigot from Marietta and a faucet from Greenville. So those two things are different. So here we are. We have to go here, and we have to pick it up. So this was a social event. So let's talk about this. Social event we're going to deal with. Social event. Everybody's coming in. This is the Facebook place where everybody talks. And did you hear this? And did you see that? You know about her, that kind of thing. Only place to get water. Now watch this. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, now let me go ahead and tell you who's in the room, okay? This person in the room, been married 5 times, living with somebody right now. Going to come and get water. Going to come and get water in front of you. In front of you. See what's happening? So she's come to get water. Jesus said to her, will you give me a drink? Before I get to the drink part, let's look at the next verse, because Jesus did something on purpose because the disciples were not ready for this. So here's what he said. The disciples had gone into town to buy food. Jesus sent the disciples away because they were not thinking like he was thinking. They still had social boundaries, and they still had religious boundaries. They would never speak to this lady. And matter of fact, they would have encouraged Jesus not to do it. They had to cut through here to go where they were going. So Jesus is having a seat. He's already sent his disciples away because the disciples are not going to know this at all. They're a long way from understanding different, love and social and religious boundaries. Long way. So here he is. The Samaritan woman said to him, you are a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. There we are. We got that religious boundary that is placed already. She understands the religious boundary. Got it placed in. How can you ask me for a drink? For Jews do not associate with Samaritans. So the blacks and the whites don't associate. The Muslims and this don't associate. And the terrorists and this don't associate. So this is kind of what's going on. But she has to come to get water or she can't live. What does she do? She finds out when you're not going to be there. That's what she does. She comes to a time during the day when you guys aren't going to show up. You know why she does that? Because you think she's an adulterer and had 5 husbands, and you think that she's going to take your husband. And you're not going to let your husband go get water by himself. Because she might be there, and if she is, she's going to steal my husband. Let me ask you a question. Do we invite this person to Marathon? Did we invite this adulterer who had 5 husbands and now sleeping with somebody else? Did we welcome into Marathon? Or are you afraid that your husband is going to go away with her? Maybe we can put her in a section where nobody sits. Maybe we can say, okay, all adulterers on this side, fornicators here, and then we'll just put drug addicts and murderers on this side. So at least you know what we're dealing with. So is this how it works? So this is where this lady is living. She does not trust you. Nobody cares about her. And the Son of God is going to actually speak to her. Because Jesus cares about her. He cares more about the sinner than the sin. He was always talking to the wrong people. He always was. It is amazing how he did this. So here we go. Jesus answered, if the gift of God, watch this, if you knew the gift of God and who it is that asked you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water. Now, let's do us, okay? This woman comes in and she's getting water with the rest of you because this is our time to get water. And so our first question with her would be, you are going to hell. I'm sure she's encouraged by that. I mean, what would be your question? You should change your life. You should stop this. You should do. Is that how we would do it? Or would you avoid her and let her get her water and you go to the other side? You see? That's not how Jesus works. Listen, to get to this point where you can look somebody like that in the eye and you see nothing but love in their heart, and you know that if they accept Jesus Christ, their life changes, and I don't care what your sin is, that's a long way to go. Imagine a church like that. Imagine if we had no religious and no social boundaries, that everybody would be welcome in this house. Can you imagine that? This is what was happening. She couldn't believe that he was talking to her. First of all, he's breaking rules. Let me go with the rules. You can't talk to a Samaritan if you're a Jew. Got it? Just can't do it. It's illegal. Can't talk to a woman, a Samaritan woman, not your wife. Don't be talking to that woman. That's breaking the rules. The woman was already an adulterer, so you should not be talking to that woman. Listen, how many friends do you think this woman had? And we don't even know how she got here, do we? We don't know the backstory. We don't know, I didn't say Backstreet Boys. I said backstory. We don't know. We don't know what happened with her. She may have gotten a divorce. Her husband may have died. Something happened. She has 2 kids. She's got to take care of them some way. The only way she can take care of food in that culture, have food, is she's got to be married. She continues to marry. She marries somebody that's terrible, beats her all the time. She gets a divorce, goes to the next guy, the next guy, the next guy, the next guy. Nobody knows this story but Jesus. I can give you living water. It will change your life. But it will change your opinion. You see how that works? Will it change your opinion? So Jesus told her, he said, you can have living water. But he also said, you got 5 husbands, and one you're living with now is not your husband. You need to stop that. You need to accept the gift of life. Change your world. So how does this woman do this now? How does she do this? So she comes in the door, and this is where she comes in, and you're here at a time when everybody's getting water, and she comes down to tell her story. She's going to tell the whole town. She's going to tell the whole town. She's going to say, I found living water. Jesus Christ has changed my life. I am not the person I used to be. What are you going to do? Yay? That's great for you. Stay away from my husband. So who has the problem? That's why he sends his disciples away. They're not even ready for what I just told you. They're not ready. I don't know if we're ready for that. These boundaries that we've had, we can't be a church that says, yes, we want everybody to come, And we really don't mean it. I'm not saying this is easy. I'm not saying it's just totally out of the box of what we normally would do, but this is what Jesus did. There was no question what he was going to do. You have a heartbeat. I love you. I don't care what you are, red, yellow, black, or white, green, purple, or whatever, Jew or Gentile, or even a terrorist. I do not care. If you accept my son into your life, you will be saved and you will have eternal life. Your life will be changed. That's how he works. It wasn't about anything else. And then he's going to die for us so it'll happen. But his disciples are knuckleheads. They haven't got there yet. They're not there yet. Not there. There's some man that I want to introduce to you. Have you ever heard of Billy Graham? Tell me you've heard of him. Billy Graham, you talk about somebody who knew how to do this, that broke down the barriers. In the 1950s, he came to do a crusade. And in that crusade, this was what was happening. They had ropes set up for blacks on one side and whites on the other side. And he came off the stage and ripped up the ropes. And he said, this will never happen. This will never happen. Martin Luther King, they were best friends. I can't tell you how many times Billy Graham bailed Martin Luther King out of jail. They were friends. He said, this is not going to happen. Jesus Christ is for everyone. Everyone is how Billy would put it. In 1966, I think it was, he came to Textile Hall in Greenville. It's not there anymore. Textile Hall in Greenville. And the Bob Jones University decided to boycott Billy Graham. And they said, if any of our students go to this crusade, any of them, over 3,000 of them, any of you go to this crusade, you will be expelled from school. You cannot go and hear Billy Graham. Billy Graham broke down the social barriers, the religious barriers, God used something outside the church to move the kingdom. I will tell you this over and over again. That's what he does. Because religious people have too many boundaries and too many social hang-ups in order to reach people. It has to be like us. It has to be the way we want to do it. And God does it any way he wants to get to people that we wouldn't want. Billy Graham spoke to 80 million people in person. 80 million. Millions of people, millions accepted Christ because of Billy Graham. There'll be never be another one like that. And it's just fitting that Billy would do this last thing when he was buried, and his last thing was to have someone make his coffin, and it's not like anything you've ever seen. Watch this.
It's been very touching. I originally came out here today thanking people for their love and support of my grandfather and my father's ministries. The casket was made down in a prison called Angola State Penitentiary down in Louisiana.
This is the Camp A carpenter shop, where senior carpenter Richard Liggett, among other things, builds coffins for the prisoners here at Angola. But this time he's building one special coffin.
We were down there for a prison rodeo, and my father had seen these caskets being made. He came back and told my grandmother, he said he'd bought her a gift. He'd bought her a casket made by prisoners, and my grandmother thought it was outstanding.
I've been in Angola 35 years. I build every casket just like I would have mine built.
Reverend Graham has always preached on the humility of man, and in order to grow in Christ-likeness, we must humble ourselves. And I think that this is kind of his final statement to that effect, where he'll be buried in a coffin that's made by the poor or the prisoner.
The prisoners are people that need forgiveness too. And that's what my grandmother loved about it, that we all need forgiveness.
The cross has the most significance. That's where the ultimate sacrifice was made for mankind.
cross and the resurrection of Christ offers forgiveness of sin, offers a whole new life, and offers you eternal life if you come to the cross by repentance and faith.
Never be another one of them. What if we were a church like that? I mean, what if we were a church like that? That it didn't matter where you came from, what you did, who you are, and we just love you anyway. That'd be awesome, wouldn't it? That's what we want to be. Y'all stand with me. I'm running a little over. Everybody needs to drink water, you know. You know, I didn't kill anybody. I didn't do a lot of the things that I said, and that I've, so it might be a little better, easier to accept me. But I know pastors who have been murderers who actually are leading big churches. So it's a really interesting thing that this Jesus thing can get straight to that heart and get right to the person and change everything about them. It is amazing. But he's going to ask us that question too, just like Peter. What do you say? What do you say? And that's what we've been talking about. And we're going to continue. Y'all need to tell the whole town. You tell the whole town, Jesus Christ loves you, Marathon loves you. You are welcome here. Tell the whole town. Everything changes because of him. Let's pray together. If you bow your head. I wanted to ask today if anybody would like to accept Jesus Christ, because you're the reason Jesus came. You're that heartbeat he's looking for, and he can change your life. Pray this prayer with me. Jesus, I ask that you come into my life and change me. Make me a new person. I want to follow you. I ask that you forgive me of my sin. Forgive me for not following you sooner. I believe you died for me. I believe you rose from the dead. Thank you for hearing my prayer and changing my life forever. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Roy McCall will be on my right. He'd love to pray with you and talk with you. I just think y'all need to kind of search how you feel about things and who we invite and who we want here. We're going to love them all. We really will. One of the things we do is a discipleship program called Runners. If you want to know more about that, there's a table out there too. It'll help you understand what I just said. So thank y'all for being here. We will see you next week. Can't wait. Tell the whole town.